Welcome back. We are going to start a new session, digital modulation and demodulation technique. So in unit 1, we have briefly discussed about waveform encoding schemes such as pulse code modulation, differential pulse code modulation, delta modulation, adaptive delta modulation. In unit 2, we have briefly discussed the channel encoding techniques and line encoding techniques. In unit 3, we have briefly discussed the baseband reception techniques. In this unit, we are going to describe the passband communication system and the necessity of the passband communication system and the different types of modulation techniques involved in passband communication system in a digital communication system. Then the design characteristics of a passband digital communication system will be briefly explained. Then several performance metrics which are all used to evaluate the performance of a passband digital communication system. And we know that the baseband signal cannot be transmitted through wireless medium or through air, because the baseband signal is having a bandwidth of which is equal to the data rate. RS, bandwidth is equal to RS, and this RS is nothing but the inverse of TS, and we can say that 1 divided by the symbol time period. So if I would like to transmit a signal at 10 megabits per second, then I need a bandwidth of 10 megahertz, at least 10 megahertz in the case of baseband transmission system. If this 10 megahertz channel cannot be transmitted through air, since the necessity of the antenna will be large in size. We know that the dimension of the antenna is directly proportional to lambda, that is the wavelength, and the wavelength lambda is nothing but C divided by F. As frequency increases, lambda decreases. As lambda decreases, the dimension of the antenna will get decreased. This is the only way we can perform the modulation process to reduce the height of the antenna. So we need to upconvert this baseband spectrum to a maximum high frequency of the carrier signal, carrier frequency, so as to reduce the size of the antenna. So this modulation process provides very good advantages, such as the reduction in the size of the antenna, and it facilitates the frequency division multiplexing, and it reduces the interference. For example, here a block diagram of a passband communication system is given, in which a baseband signal x of t is given to a multiplier which is already provided with a carrier, high frequency carrier signal. And here we can say that this RS is very, very less than FC. And FC is the carrier frequency. In time domain, as the multiplier is involved in this process, the signal, the passband signal S of t can be represented as x of t multiplied by c of t. So in frequency domain, if you take Fourier transform of this expression, you will get S of f that will be equal to x of f, and the multiplication in time domain will be transformed into convolution in frequency domain, and C of t will become C of f. Let we assume this as the spectrum of the baseband signal x of t, which is band limited to Rs Hz. And Rs here represents 1 divided by Ts, where Ts is the symbol duration, that is the time duration taken to transmit one symbol. If I say this is 10 mega symbols per second, MSPS, or even we can say 10 megabits per second. If I transmit the binary data, I can say it. I can measure the unit as megabits per second. If the symbols, that is cumulative of few number of bits, are transmitted in a particular duration, then we can call it as mega symbols per second. So if I transmit the information at a speed of 10 mega symbols per second, then Ts will be the time duration for one symbol is 1 divided by 10 mega, that will be equal to 0.1 microsecond. And the S of f can be, this is x of f, and the Fourier transform of the cosine signal C of f is nothing but 1 divided by 2 into del of f minus fc plus del of f plus fc, which is graphically represented by this diagram. So S of f is nothing but the convolution of x of f and C of f, so that while convolving a signal with a shifted version of the direct delta function, then that particular signal is shifted towards that particular direct delta position. So here the entire spectrum of the baseband signal will be shifted to Fc. From 0 Hz to Fc and 0 Hz to minus Fc as an image replica. Now the bandwidth requirement of the passband signal will become 2 Rs, whereas here the bandwidth requirement in the baseband is Rs and the bandwidth requirement at the passband signal is 2 Rs. That means the spectrum of a baseband signal or a passband signal gets widened after the modulation. And the upper cutoff frequency of this is Fc plus Rf, and the lower cutoff frequency is Fc minus Rs. Hence, this bandwidth is passing through a particular band, that is between Fc minus Rs to Fc plus Rs. This type of communication is called as band pass communication or pass band communication. Generally, this kind of passband data transmission is used in microwave radio link, in mobile communication, Wi-Fi communications, and satellite communications, similar type of other wireless applications. Similarly, it facilitates the multiplexing in such a way that if user 1 is transmitting, let's suppose user 1 is transmitting at 10 megabits per second. Similarly, user 2 is also transmitting at the same data rate of 10 megabits per second. So both their signals are having a time duration for per symbol is 0.1 microseconds. So the users will distinguish their information only by means of their carrier. So if a user is taking a carrier of 1 gigahertz and another user 1 is taking a carrier of 1 gigahertz and user 2 is taking a carrier at 1.5 gigahertz, then the spectrum will be at 1 gigahertz, the user will transmit 20 megahertz, that is 1.02. Here it is minus 0.98. Sorry, this is 1.01, this is minus 0.98. Similarly, the user 2, this is the spectrum of user 1. Similarly, the user 2 spectrum will take in place, which is centered around 2 gigahertz. That is, this is minus 1.99, and the spectrum will be at 2.01 gigahertz. This is the way it facilitates the multiplexing of more number of users and also provides multiple access techniques also. And the passband systems are more diverse and complex than the baseband systems, as it involves the multiplication of the high frequency RF carrier signal. And all the practical channels are band limited. A designer should take care of the designs specifications to fit into a particular bandwidth while transmitting it in the wireless medium. So in transmitting and receiving a carrier signal, generally a transmitter and a receiver needs a modulator and a demodulator respectively. But this modulation and demodulation is distinguished with the help of a operation called as duplexing technique, which provides a simultaneous transmission and reception process. There are 3 different types of digital modulation techniques based on how it is being switched or keyed with respect to the modulating signal. Here, it is differing with respect to the analog modulation in such a way that in analog modulation techniques, the carrier signal is a continuous wave signal or continuous time signal. Message signal is also a continuous time signal, and the modulated signal is also a continuous time signal. Whereas here in digital modulation techniques, carrier signal is a continuous time signal, message signal is a digital pulse signal, and modulated signal is again a continuous time signal. We know that modulation is a process of altering the parameters of the carrier with respect to the message signal. So in digital modulation techniques, Here also the modulation changes the parameters of the carrier, such as the amplitude, frequency, or phase of a sinusoidal carrier in accordance with the incoming baseband data. The baseband data is of digital type. In binary type digital information, we are having only two different symbols, 0 and 1. And for higher order baseband data, we are having different number of amplitude levels, but they are all represented in digital manner. Based on that, we can categorize the digital modulation techniques into three different types: amplitude shift keying, frequency shift keying, and phase shift keying, which are simply abbreviated as ASK, FSK, and PSK. ASK is nothing but changing the amplitude of the carrier signal with respect to the, or switching the amplitude of the carrier signal with respect to the digital signal. Similarly, frequency shift keying is nothing but switching the frequency of the carrier signal in accordance with the binary data. Similarly, the phase shift keying is defined as a modulation process in which the phase angle of the carrier signal is switched corresponding to the binary message data. Here, the best example is represented in a graphical form where the binary data 1010 is represented for a time duration of TB per bit. TB is the bit duration. And in the case of ASK signal, for the time duration, for the binary data 1, the signal is transmitted as it is. For the binary data 1, 0, there will not be any transmission of signal. So here the 0 signal is transmitted. For the frequency shift keying, the binary information 1, a particular frequency signal is transmitted. For binary data 0, then another set of frequency signal is transmitted. And for phase shift keying signal, we can distinguish the phase difference for these two symbols when 1 is transmitted and when 0 is transmitted. So there is a change in phase here at the starting of the signal. So this is how the modulation process is generally taken. So in the case of ASK, it is having the varying envelope. Whereas in the case of FSK and PSK, the amplitudes of these two signals are kept as constant and having a constant envelope, unlike ASK. So this property makes the phase shift keyed and frequency shift keyed signal more strong in the presence of additive white Gaussian noise, so that it is having more immunity power and it can combat the additive white Gaussian noise when compared to the ASK. Hence, in practice, PSK and FSK signals are more preferred than the ASK signals for passband data transmission over a nonlinear channels. Because in nonlinear channels, like in the case of microwave radio and satellite communication, the presence of additive white Gaussian noise will create a greater impact and affects the quality of the signal at the receiver side. Depending upon how the transmission and reception process is going to happen and whether the similar properties of the transmitter is going to be reflected at the receiver side, we can categorize the modulation techniques, digital modulation techniques, into two different types. One is coherent technique and another one is non-coherent technique. If the phase property of all the symbols let we can take, if the transmitter is transmitting two symbols, let we can assume a binary transmission S1 of t and S2 of t. If these two signals, any one of these two signals is transmitted at any point of time by a transmitter, then whatever the phase used here in S1 of t and S2 of t are reflected on the receiver side also. If it is having a similar kind of structure, then that is called as coherent type reception technique. So generally the coherent type reception technique uses the correlator type of receiver. In the non-coherent technique, we always use a matched filter type of receiver. In coherent type of receiver, there will be a phase recovery circuit will present that ensures the local oscillator supplying the carrier wave in the receiver, which is synchronized to the oscillator supplying the carrier wave in the transmitter. Whereas in the case of non-coherent system, there will not be any match between the carrier phase in the transmitter as well as in the receiver. Instead, a pseudo PSK signal is deployed. Generally, ASK and FSK are used in non-coherent systems, whereas PSK can be deployed with the help of coherent system as well as non-coherent coherent system, and PSK cannot be implemented in the case of non-coherent system. For the non-coherent PSK, pseudo PSK or differential PSK system can be deployed, which will be discussed in the next further sessions briefly. Depending upon how the baseband informations are going to be transmitted, we can categorize the digital modulation techniques into two different types. One is binary scheme and another one is MRE scheme. In the binary scheme, the binary data 0 or 1 is transmitted. For the binary data 0, we are having two set of symbols. We can transmit S1 of t and S2 of t. For binary data 0, S1 of t can be transmitted. For the binary data 1, S2 of t can be transmitted. Here the symbol duration t is referred to as TB. TS is the symbol duration, TB is the bit duration, and if this is the binary data which is going to be transmitted, this will be the bit duration, and here the bit duration and the symbol duration are the same. Whereas if binary transmission scheme is otherwise called as two-array transmission scheme, if we go for higher order MRE value here, let us say it will be represented by 2 to the power of n array signals. So M can be represented as 2 to the power of n. So M can have the possible values of 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and it is going on. So we can categorize the signaling as 4-array signal, 8-array signaling scheme, 16-array signaling scheme. Like that we can make the nomenclature. So we will have m number of possible signals, S1 of t, S2 of t up to Sm of t, each of which is transmitted within a time interval of Ts. So let us say if a binary data is transmitted in such a way that 1 0 1 1 0 0 1 0 0 1 1 1 0 1 0 0 1. Likewise, then here 2 if I would like to transmit with the help of 4-array transmission scheme, then 2 bits are packed together. So here we are having 4 different symbols, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 and 1, 1. And each of which these symbols are transmitted within a time interval of Ts, where Ts is the symbol period, symbol duration. And for 0, 0, the symbol S1 of T is transmitted. For 0, 1, S2 of T is transmitted. For 1, 0, S3 of T is transmitted. For 1, 1, S4 of T is transmitted. This is how the M-array transmission scheme is taken place. And generally here, Ts will be equal to N into Tb. Here Ts is equal to N into Tb. Because Tb is representing the time duration to transmit one bit of information. But here, if in this 4-array case, here we are having 2 Tb for 1 Ts. So Ts can be represented as 2 Tb. Hence 4 can be represented as 2 to the power of 2. We are representing Ts is equal to 2 Tb for M-array signal, which is represented by n number of bits in each symbol, which can be the symbol duration is written as Ts is equal to N into Tb. Hence, for the different types of ASK, FSK, PSK, we can categorize BASK, BFSK, and BPSK. Similarly, M-array signal scheme, we are having M-array FSK, ASK, M-array FSK, and M-array PSK modulation techniques. The M-array signaling schemes are preferred over the binary signaling schemes since it conserves the bandwidth at the expense of the increased power. So let me assume B as the bandwidth required to transmit a baseband information, to transmit the signal having a data rate of RB or RS. We can say that bandwidth is directly proportional to RS, and we know that RS is RS is equal to 1 divided by Ts. So that we can write bandwidth is directly proportional to 1 divided by Ts. So that we can say that bandwidth required for a binary signaling scheme, which is directly proportional to 1 divided by Ts, where in the binary transmission scheme, Ts is equal to Tb. The symbol duration is equal to bit duration, so that we can write 1 divided by Tb. Whereas in the case of bandwidth required for M-array signaling scheme is directly proportional to 1 divided by Ts, whereas Ts is equal to N into Tb. So here the bandwidth is reduced by the factor of N, where N is the number of bits used in one symbol, or the number of bits transmitted per symbol, where N can be represented as log of M to the base 2, since M is equal to 2 to the power of N. So M-array signal scheme reduces the transmission bandwidth by the factor N over binary signaling scheme. For example, if I would like to transmit a baseband information at the rate of 10 megabits per second using a binary scheme, using a binary scheme, I need the bandwidth which is twice the data rate of the signal, that is 20 megahertz. Whereas if I go for 4N scheme, the bandwidth requirement will become 20 divided by 2. That is 10 megahertz is enough to transmit the same 10 megabits per second of information. And in 8-array scheme, it is divided by 3. So I need only 6.67 megahertz of bandwidth to transmit the same amount of information. So it is quite improving the bandwidth conservation while we use the M-array signaling scheme when compared to the binary signaling scheme. Whereas it creates some kind of another impacts such as poor bit error rate performance, and it will require more power to transmit the information on the another hand. That will be briefly discussed on the next sessions. So generally M-array, PSK, all the M-array schemes are commonly used in coherent systems. Only binary signaling schemes are used in the case of non-coherent systems. Sometimes the combinations of ASK, FSK and PSK can be used to utilize the advantages of each and everything to reduce or to alleviate the disadvantages. So the combination of any of these modulation techniques creates hybrid modulation techniques, in which if ASK and the PSK are combined, and that will create quadrature amplitude modulation, which is simply called as QAM. Similarly, PSK and FSK are combined, which will create MSK called as minimum shift keying. That means in QAM, both the amplitude and phase of the carrier signal is varied in accordance with the baseband information signal, digital baseband information signal. Similarly, in the case of minimum shift keying, the phase as well as the frequency of the carrier signal is switched with respect to the digital baseband information. As a designer, the choice of modulation, digital modulation technique for a passband transmission system, we have to look many parameters and many characteristics with respect to channel, with respect to the system, and with respect to the information, what we are going to transmit. So based on these, the design characteristics are specified. The first design characteristic is the maximum data rate, which will create another impact in the channel bandwidth, because bandwidth is directly proportional to the data rate of the system. So, moreover, if the data rate is higher, the bandwidth will be sufficiently large. If we want to accommodate more number of users, then the bandwidth requirement will be more enough, so that we can choose a proper M-array value to reduce the bandwidth, which is also specified in the next point, that is the conservation in bandwidth and its efficient utilization. Here, this point is taken into the consideration when the bandwidth is a crucial consideration, where we need to accommodate more number of signals to the more number of users. Then the bandwidth should be effectively utilized. At this case, we have to choose a proper M-array scheme. Then minimum probability of error. Generally, the probability of error has to be minimum, so that the quality of the signal at the receiver side will be very high. Generally, it is expected that in ideal case, if 1000 bits are transmitted by a transmitter, then the same 1000 number of bits should be received by the receiver without any error. But this cannot happen because due to the presence of additive white Gaussian noise in the receiver system, as well as the channel impacts such as intersymbol interference and other attenuation effects, there may be a chance of erroneous bits in the transmitted information. So that will create or that will degrade the quality of the signal. So generally, the probability of error should be minimum as much as possible. Then is the transmitted power. Based on the different transmission technique, PSK, FSK, we are having numerous number of choices: ASK, PSK, FSK, and QAM, and MSK is also there. So each of these signals are having different power requirements. So depending upon the transmission power requirement, we are expecting the minimum power to be transmitted while transmitting it in the wireless mode, because the regulations of wireless transmissions specifying that each of the equipment should have a specific absorption rate which limits the transmission power and reception power. So within the limit, we have to choose a proper modulation techniques. So the transmitted power, minimum transmitted power requirement is one of the design characteristics while designing a digital communication system. Then is maximum resistance to the interference, because here while transmitting the information through the wireless medium, there are different types of interference may occur. One is adjacent channel interference and another one is co-channel interference. And most probably the intersymbol interference can also occur due to the fading environment. All these things should be kept in control with the help of deployment of various equipments such as equalizer or stringent filters in the digital receiver. So the resistance to the interference is also another important design characteristics in the case of designing a digital passband transmission system. Then is the circuit complexity. When for all the above design specifications, we need some kind of extra electronic circuits that should be deployed in the receiver system, which creates circuit complexity. On the other hand, which increases the cost of the system, as well as it requires more space to accommodate all these kinds of circuits, which increases the size of the receiver system, digital receiver system also. So we should have a trade-off between all the above parameters with respect to the circuit complexity to have a compact system so that the system can attain a mobility. Whereas how we are using the mobile gadgets, smartphones in our hand. Once a system is being developed, it has to be measured with the help of some metrics to evaluate its performance. So there are three different parameters which are all used to measure the performance of a passband digital communication system. They are probability of error and the power spectrum and the bandwidth efficiency. The first one is the probability of error, and here the probability of error is defined as the total number of probability of error is shortly represented as PE, where PE is nothing but number of erroneous bits received over total number of bits transmitted. In the case of binary transmission, we will call this as bits. In the case of memory signaling schemes, we will call it as symbols. That is the number of erroneous symbols received over total number of symbols transmitted. So the ultimate objective of a passband system is to design an optimum receiver which should receive all the informations with very minimal average probability of symbol error, even in the presence of additive white Gaussian noise. Then is the power spectrum. It is an important measure, and the power spectrum of the modulated signal is used to appreciate the practical virtues of different digital modulation schemes. From this, we can estimate the maximum bandwidth requirement and how the pulse should be shaped and how it is varying with respect to the channel characteristics. All these informations are studied with the help of the power spectrum. With these informations, it can able to determine the occupancy of the channel bandwidth as well as the co-channel interference in the case of multiple access techniques. So let S of t be the modulated signal which is having two component, in-phase component and quadrature component. The modulated signal can be represented as S of t is equal to Si of t cos 2 pi fct minus Sq of t sin 2 pi fct. This comes from the fact that generally a carrier signal C of t can be, any modulated signal C of t can be represented as AC cos 2 pi fct plus phi of t. So this can further be expanded as AC cos phi of t into cos 2 pi fct minus AC sin phi of t sin 2 pi fct. So this is nothing but the in-phase component Si of t, and this is nothing but the quadrature component Sq of t. So any modulated signal can be represented like this. The same thing can also be represented in such a way that with the help of a complex envelope, let S tilde of t can be represented as Si of t plus j Sq of t. And we know that e to the power of j 2 pi fct can be represented as cos 2 pi fct plus j sin 2 pi fct. So in which it can be represented by f of t is represented by the multiplication of the complex envelope S tilde of t and e to the power of j 2 pi fct, and its real term is represented by S of t. So the power spectrum of this signal and this complex envelope is called as the baseband information. This complex envelope is called as the baseband data, which we can represent it as x of t. Let Px of f is the power spectral density of the baseband signal and S of t is the passband signal. This is passband signal. And this x of t is the baseband signal. So the power spectrum of the baseband signal, passband signal, can be represented by this expression. That is, it is shifted towards the carrier frequency. So the baseband signal, which is centered around 0 Hz, is shifted towards the carrier frequency, which is centered around Fc. Then is bandwidth efficiency. Thus, a spectrally efficient modulation scheme is ensured, and the effective utilization of the channel bandwidth and the transmitted power. And this assurance is given by a performance metric called bandwidth efficiency. And the primary objective of a spectrally efficient scheme is to maximize the bandwidth efficiency. The bandwidth efficiency is defined as the ratio of the data rate in bits per second to the efficiently utilized channel bandwidth B. So rho is called as the bandwidth efficiency, which can be written as RB over B, where RB is the data rate of the system and B is the bandwidth, channel bandwidth. And it is measured by bits per second and bandwidth is measured by hertz. So the bandwidth efficiency is measured by bits per second per hertz, or otherwise bits per second per hertz.